Recording in
And
progress.
Heather is here, having a little difficulty here.
All right. So I'm going to call the select board meeting of Tuesday, April 25th to order. And the first item is approval of the agenda.
I move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Are there any requests for
No competition.
changes on the agenda, amendments, questions about it? Nobody that's dialed in? No? Okay, then all in favor of approving the agenda as drafted, signify by saying aye.
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 Okay. Next is approval of the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda with an abstention of you and I from the minutes from last meeting.
Perfect.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Are there any other comments, questions on the consent agenda? Anything somebody would like to talk about, point out? Okay?
We have a citizen,
Anne has her up.
Yes. On the consent agenda,
I think so. Is that where?
I think you want to talk on the citizen comments, right?
No, I wanted to speak about the correspondences.
The
first
correspondences,
letter,
yes.
And that's in the consent agenda.
we don't really approve correspondence, it's just passed on to us.
She can talk in the citizens' comments.
Yeah, citizens' comments I think makes more sense.
Yeah. Which, on the revolving loan program, or?
No, she's talking about the airport thing, I think.
Yeah, but the Air Force thing would be citizens' comments. So hold 1 second, let me just finish this. So, hearing no request for change on that, all in favor of approving the consent agenda as drafted with the abstention on the minutes by Farhad and myself, signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Okay. Next is citizen comments. Ann?
Okay.
There you go.
Thank you for guiding me about the framework.
That's all right.
I saw your email. I was driving, I didn't respond. I was going to mention that it's not on the agenda. When your email, it sounded like we are on the agenda. We were not, but I didn't get a chance to respond to you. Sorry about that.
Oh, thank you, Fahad. Thank you for wanting to help out. And I know citizens' comments are when the citizens comment, but we don't get answers. I know I'd sent you that.
Wait a second.
Oh.
We do typically answer, we don't make it a big part of this agenda, but we usually do look into it and respond to the person if it's something that is not more than, that does request a comment.
Oh, okay. Okay. Again, a clarification for me. I see that you've received the letter that I sent your way,
Yes.
and I'm interested in hearing your response to that letter, and I can summarize why I sent that letter to you in person right here real quick, if that's warranted.
That's fine.
Okay. I was very pleased with, and I forget exactly when it came out, but you drafted a letter stating the parts of the proposed master plan that the select board supported or wanted to be active with, or something like to that effect. And then I was especially more pleased when I saw, does it help if I show you? It was in your packet, so
The
you saw it.
segment about the water.
Yeah.
quality stuff. I'm
You're-
very familiar with it.
Yeah, yeah, of course, you're very familiar. The draft April 11th dated support of some protections maintained yearly for the water supply.
Yes.
And I was really pleased. You know, you're putting your money where your mouth is, kind of. As I was writing up the MANA petition for the Act 250, I came upon some information that really didn't make sense to me considering all of our concerns with the health and welfare of the life around the airport. And it was, well, a couple items. One is the, there's a, it was a, the acoustic bat monitoring study plan that was proposed by, or prepared by Northeastern and Mid-Atlantic branch offices of Western Ecosystems Technology. And in it, there was endorsement for doing pre and post testing for bats. And then I saw a letter by Vermont Fish and Wildlife. And he said that, and this is to Judy, who was writing in at the time about the assessment of bats. And he said that you're asking the right questions, but the Environmental Review Authority that they have does not include cumulative effects on wildlife species. And as you can imagine, many development projects contribute to further economic development, which ultimately impacts wildlife. And so there's conflict right in there that it's recommended that there be pre and post wildlife testing, and yet there's not long-term testing over time to see what the effects of any development would be. And he goes on to talk about how VTrans has been very cooperative with all of their measures, and therefore it's a question for the town zoning department. And that had me alerted that we have a situation where the assessment of the animal populations are recommended, yet there's not in place a way to do that assessment. And that's what it seems to me. Judy might be able to speak more in depth about that process, but it felt really odd to me, and I thought, well, wow, we've got the select board, and they're behind the water quality concerns that we've raised. And so I wondered if you would be involved in some way with the animal assessments, pre and post. And Kathleen said, well, it's after the Act 250 window of time to submit in a petition. And I don't know when your April 11th draft.
You did submit that, though, as part of your stuff to the Act 250, right?
Yeah, I've submitted it, yep.
Let's wait and see what goes on with the Act 250 then.
Okay,
That's gonna go, that'll be seen by the DEC. And so the A&R and everybody will look at those comments and give us comments. I'm not an expert on it, what should be done. So let's see what happens with that.
what is the select board's role within the Act 250 process?
Provide some input, and we gave them the input that we felt was of the town's greatest concern.
Uh-huh. So there may be an opportunity for you to speak to what I put in the petition?
The comments period is closed.
Oh,
Now
right,
they're gonna
right.
take the data, and there's agencies that have comments still to go in. And,
Yeah, we're in the rebuttal time period.
right,
Yeah, yeah. So is that something that the select board might consider doing? Is that what you're saying?
so,
or-
I don't know, I mean, we're so far out on this project.
Oh, are we?
We've spent so much time on it, I
I know.
really feel like we've done,
You've done a lot.
yeah,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I guess I'd need to read a lot more about it, and I'm not prepared to address it tonight.
Yeah, yeah.
I just don't know if that's something to fall on my sword over, that the select board is gonna gonna make a huge deal about a pre and post counting of animals, but if the A&R says that's not a big deal, it really needs to come from the experts. We're not experts.
Right,
You know,
right.
You can find articles that'll tell me to do everything, and I'll be running around in circles. So
Oh, yeah, I totally
I-
understand.
We need to hear from the experts.
Yeah, yeah,
If there's a concern there, then you're darn right, we'll make a comment on it.
okay.
But, and, you know, I'm sure I'm gonna hear more from this, but I'm really not prepared to address it.
Yeah, that's fine. It seemed, when I saw in what I was reading that the issue was referred to the town level and the town planning and zoning, I became a little more alerted. And that's why I pushed it along.
Yeah. Well, and we don't, you know, the zoning is that's another thing. So that
Yeah,
would be,
yeah.
if somebody put in an application to actually build. This is planning, and the zoning would be for somebody who's got an application in for a hangar or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Yeah, and the whole contrast between what's recommended versus not having the cumulative piece of the consequences of development. You know, here we have a situation where we have an airport and it's growing. We have neighborhoods that are growing, or we hope them to grow.
right.
And
Where-
so there's
Where's the
conflict.
balance? Exactly.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
Then we want some of that. And
Yeah.
we need some growth. We need housing and stuff.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it-
So
it's-
anyway,
That's why I really need to defer to the experts, because you know, like some populations, you just relocate them. Other populations, they lose their habitat completely and die. I don't know which ones move and which one, you know, that's not my expertise.
Yeah, yeah.
So I really have to refer to the environmental organizations that study that
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
and see what they say about it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And then here we are in the development versus situation. So thank you.
Right. Thanks, Sam.
We do have a hand in our
Judy.
audience. Judy?
Okay, thanks so much. So two things. One, I would like to extend a personal invitation on behalf of the Middlebury Tree Committee to our Arbor Day celebration. It will soon be on the town's website. It will be in the Edison Independent. It's already on Front Porch Forum. That there will be children's activities at the Ilsley Library. There will be information about trees and Arbor Day and invasives at the Middlebury Natural Foods Co-op. And there is an ongoing art exhibit at Sparrow. The whole idea of supplying grants for new businesses in Middlebury, oh my goodness, Sparrow has aced it. So she is collaborating with us. Her current exhibition is on trees, and if you haven't, celebrating trees, and if you haven't already visited the exhibition, I would invite you to do so, but also to come to the Arbor Day events on Saturday, May 6th. That being said, my second comment is concerning, of course, stuff around the airport. The Conservation Commission has concerns about the extensive clearing north of Munson Road. It wasn't supposed to happen that way. It opens the door to invasives. It also opens the door to snowdrifts. So hopefully the town is prepared to visit Munson Road more frequently when it snows, because it drifts right across the road. And that was when there was still a tree barrier on Munson Road. And now that's completely gone. Second, I think it's important for board members, sorry if I'm being presumptuous, to become more knowledgeable about wildlife in our community. Recently, a meander method was used to determine bat populations in the area around the airport that is still being considered for clearing. The meander method of determining animal populations, particularly bat populations, is not the only method for doing so. It gauges the population of some bat species, but not all. And if the state was interested, truly interested, in determining the presence of endangered bat populations in and around the airport, they would have conducted acoustic techniques. They would have also used trapping methods, utilizing mist nets. Different species require different sampling methods. I guess I have to leave you with one additional comment. So I attended the airport open house back in whenever, this all seems to be a blur, back in the fall. And I talked to a pilot who recently built a hangar at the airport. And I know the person, I indicated my concerns about the bat population being disrupted. And he said, well, they can find, when they come back, they'll find another place to live.
Are we done, Judy?
One more comment. No, I'm not done.
Well, please do.
So if you left your home and you came back and it was no longer there, how would you feel? I think that's an important consideration, and I think it's something that board members need to become more informed about. It's not okay, Brian. It's not okay.
No, but
Thank you.
thank you. Okay, we're moving on. Next is appointments to boards, committees, commissions, and official positions. So, is there somebody else that have something? Is it somebody, what's that?
Can we back up to citizen comments for just
As
one
long as it's not about the airport. We did not have the airport on the agenda, and like getting lectured for 15 minutes, about something, about that a pilot, I know it is. Well, I get that. But you know what? The comments are in front of Act 250. There's nothing that's going to happen tonight that's going to affect any of that at this point.
Okay, we're trying to keep you informed.
I get that.
Today, between 3 and 5:30 o'clock, there were, I think I lost count, either 13 or 15 overflights, less than 300 feet above my house. One helicopter, round and around and around. And
Were
around.
they Air Guard or Army Guard rather, or what were they?
It's a civilian helicopter, dark
Okay.
green in color, can't see the numbers even with a binocular. It is too, all I can see is the belly of the helicopter. I can't, it's so close to my house that I can't see the sides to pick a number of it.
I did try to pick up a number too, and for my house, I can see the helicopter sideways. There was no numbers, no nothing.
So we don't know who it belonged to, but it was not National Guard, it wasn't a military type helicopter. But this is the kind of thing that we hope you will take into consideration as you create a response. Hopefully there will be some response cautioning V-Trans and the people behind the airport development to take into consideration the peaceful enjoyment of 500 or so people that live around the airport. That's all.
And I can appreciate comments like that. I do not appreciate being lectured 15 minutes about something a pilot said about bats. We're talking, they don't make decisions. I don't need to hear that stuff. I'm tired of it.
Okay.
I hear it every single meeting. And it's gonna start falling on deaf ears because it becomes meaningless, right?
Well, as the problem gets pushed out and out and out.
No, we have been taking it very seriously, and we've written letters. And believe me, I've put a lot of time into it. And so, you know, to get chastised over something a pilot says, I'm tired of it. I'm just,
Okay. But we don't have a good
It is
visibility
ridiculous.
of what your,
well, you know what, you got 500 citizens out there, you say? I hear from the same 5 every time. If there's 500 that are that concerned, let me hear from 500, and then we'll make it a bigger deal. But I'm telling you, I hear from the same small handful all the time. And it's always the same exact thing. It's like it's just getting to be a little bit overboard. Because we have done what we have said to address it. And some of them have had options. So, well. So we're gonna go on to appointments.
So I think there are some folks in the audience that were not here last time, that are seeking appointment. I'm talking particularly about Heather, Franz Trombley, and, Todd Nebraska. Todd Nebraska were you on Zoom last time, or you missed it? Okay, good.
So I wasn't here last time, so I don't know who has been introduced and who hasn't, so. If somebody hasn't been introduced, I'd love to have you come forward and say who you are and what board or committee you're interested in sitting on, and give the board an opportunity to ask you any questions as well. And maybe you're the only one.
no more.
No, Todd. Yep.
So my name is Heidi Franz Tremblay, and I live here in Middlebury. I moved here a couple years ago, and I'm interested in being on the Downtown Development Commission Board. So I have a background working for Nordstrom for over 30 years, and an interest in just generally the business and the success of Middlebury. I think having a strong downtown is really important to a successful community. So that's my interest. And I do work part-time downtown, so I have a vested interest in seeing it be successful.
Okay.
Any questions?
Any questions?
Where do you come here from? Where were you?
From Oregon.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, long
Yeah, we
ways.
moved here about 2 years ago. One of those people who, you know, just kind of picked a spot on the map and went on a grand adventure. So, yeah.
Great.
Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome to the community.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So my name's Todd Nebraska, and my wife and I recently relocated to Middlebury. I've been working for Breadloaf for close to 17 years, and once my kids were out of school and out of the house, my wife and I decided that the hour-and-a-half commute from Manchester to here was a little long, and we decided to trade it in for a 3-minute commute. So, my interest in serving on the Planning Commission is when I, living in Manchester, I served on the Planning Commission there for 6 years, and then I was on the Select Board in town for about a year and a half when we decided to move, and then I needed to step down from the Select Board. But, I miss being involved in municipal government, and I always enjoyed my time on the Planning Commission, and felt it's, the Planning Commission's a board that, you get to do a lot, or you get to, it's very, in Manchester anyway, we had a very active Planning Commission, so I would like to get re-involved.
That sounds great. Just thinking of it as a resident of these two communities, what do you see as like fundamental planning distinctions between Manchester and Middlebury?
So, well, I'm going to actually, from my time that I've been coming to a couple meetings and listening,
Yeah.
one big issue that's the same is housing.
Sure.
I've heard housing is an issue here. Housing was a big issue in Manchester. We didn't have one police officer in town that actually was a resident of the town of Manchester because of, the cost of housing in town. Very few of our teachers in the school system were residents of town. Most of them commuted. And we, in my time, we actually went through a major rewrite of our zoning ordinance, and a lot of it was focused on what we can do to create more opportunities for not so much housing in general, but specifically workforce housing. That just the way the ordinance had been previously written, it didn't allow much opportunity for that type of development.
Sure.
So-
No, I could
so-
see that being baked into the cake there.
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
So.
Is it about the same size, Manchester comparable to Middlebury?
Actually, Middlebury is about twice the size of Manchester.
Because of the
Manchester.
college, though, right?
No, actually, Manchester only has about 4,500 permanent residents.
Yeah.
And Middlebury, I think, 85 to 8,700, something like
But
that.
that
Does that
includes,
include
that
25?
includes
That includes
college.
2,500 college
Oh, that doesn't
students.
include the
Yeah.
college. Okay, so it's not that much bigger, but yeah. I mean, Manchester was also a town that on the weekends, from
Loads.
Friday to Sunday, our population would get close to 13,000 on certain
Oh,
weekends.
wow, much.
Yeah.
All the outlet
I didn't realize
stores.
they had that much in space or.
Yeah, well, in space, second homes.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow,
So,
They have one store for every person that lives in the town, so.
yeah.
yeah. I like the Orvis store, so.
Me too.
Great.
So,
Thanks.
all right,
Okay,
thank you.
Thank you.
We also have Ethan Murphy, who is online, and before Ethan jumps in, just want to apologize for not recognizing him as a alternate on the Parks and Recreation Committee currently on our list. So, here we go. Ethan,
Thank you, Kathleen.
yep.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say hello. I didn't have a chance to come to the last meeting. I was out of the country, and just wanted to say hello. I don't know if you can see me, put the face with the name, or at least the voice with the name. I'm the current alternate with the Parks and Rec Committee, and I would love the opportunity to be appointed a full member. I've really enjoyed it. I'm not only a volunteer coach for youth soccer, basketball, and baseball, but I'm also the president of the Middlebury Skate Park project, and been working hard to get that going. Really appreciate your support while I was out of the country at the last meeting. And yeah, I would love to continue meeting with the committee and making improvements to the town of Middlebury.
Okay.
Thank you, Ethan.
Is there anybody
Thank
else?
you.
So how much discussion did you have about these at the?
Basically none. We let people speak who are there. We put everyone into whatever into nomination, and said that we would appoint at this meeting.
Okay.
So you have a long list of non-contested positions, so an approach might be to appoint those folks, and then dig into the
And we have, it
So-
looks like we have,
We don't have to name each of them non-contested. We can just have one motion. Okay.
yeah, it looks like we have, what, four panels that are, so perhaps a motion to appoint all of those positions that are non-contested first.
Okay. I'll make a motion. I move to appoint all names listed in the related packet document that are being submitted for non-competitive positions.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Any comments or discussion on that? All in favor of that signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. So now that leaves us four, and let's take them these four one at a time.
Sure.
Anybody have a preference which one they want to speak on first? So we have the DIDC, the IC, Parks and Rec, and Planning Commission. All have more applicants than positions.
How about we start with?
Brian, I can speak on Parks and Rec.
Okay,
Um,
let's go.
I've been on Parks and Rec for about 2 years. That's the board that I came from before I joined the select board. And I would love to move forward with Ethan and Virginia. I really appreciate how Ethan is leading the skate park efforts, and Virginia brings a perspective of a Middlebury resident who often engages with the recreation programming that we see in the programming guides put out quarterly. So she's not necessarily someone who's involved right now with a career in recreation. She has had a career in recreation as an educator and as a special educator, but right now she is solely a consumer of our recreation programs and is able to really bring a group of people together. And I think in the last Parks and Recreation Committee, she was really commended for that. So I would definitely support those two in an effort to give new people a role in local politics, which is something that's really important for me to promote.
Okay.
I have a question. Greg is an incumbent,
Yeah.
is looking to be reappointed.
Yeah.
And he's the chair.
And the chair?
He's the chair. of
We
Parks and Rec.
typically reappoint?
We actually have, on some of these committees, we've tried to do some rotation. So it's been a combination of both. It hasn't been an automatic reappointment.
Yeah, and we do have attendance records for a number of boards, but that does not include Parks and Rec, to see who has scheduling conflicts and is not able to attend.
When I was on the
Number of
Parks and Rec, Greg has been to every single meeting.
Yeah.
He is
I
very
have,
involved.
I have another question. Do we have the ability to appoint an alternate to any committee?
Ethan was an alternate on Parks and Rec. He wasn't noted in this or any other correspondence of mine, but he was appointed last year by the board as an alternate.
Well, I think, you know, I hate to go against Izzy, but I would say that, recommend that Greg and Ethan be appointed. One's an incumbent, one was the alternate last year. Virginia's a newbie. Let's appoint her as an alternate. She can attend every meeting. If somebody doesn't show up, she gets a vote. So she could participate, and we can take them all.
What do you think about that, Isabel? You're good with that?
We get a thumbs up, yeah.
I'll support.
Yeah, I'm good. That was good.
Okay.
So need a motion?
Any other comments on it first? If not, let's take care of that one then. So you want to make that motion, Isabel?
Sure. I'll make a motion to appoint Greg and Ethan to terms on the Parks and Recreation with Virginia as the alternate.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Those opposed? Okay, we're unanimous. So next, we've got, anybody want to grab one of them?
How about planning?
Planning Commission, okay. It's 4 positions, 5 applicants.
We actually have a memo from them about this.
Yeah, and I think it looks like they're recommending that, Eric, Todd, both Todds, and, Andrew Klein be appointed as the 4 positions for the 4 applicants. The 5th, I think Jonathan Miller was in there also, but he's been put on the Energy Committee.
Yes, and Jonathan's here.
Oh, sorry.
Can I speak to that?
Yep.
Sure. Oh, I'm sorry, that's Brian's job.
Go right ahead.
Apparently, there is a initiative from the college and with John Bostow that involves both the Energy Committee and the Planning Commission. And also from the Energy Committee side of things, we're putting out people as liaisons to the other committees, including planning. And so I was at the last Planning Commission meeting, and Jen and I clicked on that I would be a good liaison to all 3 in my capacity.
All 3?
The college,
Oh, the college is part.
Energy Committee, and the
Okay.
Planning Commission.
Okay.
Yeah, so just take that into consideration.
So the idea was you would be appointed to one and liaise to the other 2, or?
Be on both, or it could liaise.
Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't matter as long as I'm involved with both.
Yeah.
Or maybe I could be an old.
And that's for the master, for their next phase of their energy
Something about
planning?
$60,000 that they want to spend right now.
Yeah.
A climate action plan.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that they want to spend it, they do have some goals they're trying to achieve, so.
Yeah.
I
They
know,
have the money.
it's all in your viewpoint, right, so,
Yeah.
okay. So with that, sounds like he's gonna be liaison. Anyways, if he was coming, if Jonathan was coming from the, as long as he's appointed to one of those committees and then liaison to the others.
There's an alternate.
We can put him as an alternate.
Maybe?
I don't know about the planning
Planning
commission.
commission's a-
What
This
is
is,
that,
uh,
if that's
Planning
set by.
statutory, that's,
I think in this capacity, we get more people playing in the game. which is really important. You got one committee, if we put you on two, we're gonna eliminate one person.
That's okay, if they want, the other.
And I think all five candidates for this are great.
Yeah.
And
Okay, why don't you make a motion then, and we'll see if there's comments on the motion.
okay, I, for the planning commission, recommend appointing Eric, Todd, and Andrew to the planning commission for the 2023 to 2026.
I'll second, but I have a question. How do you, there's a 1 2-year position and 3 3-year positions here.
Oh, that's right, there is one, Andrew Klein will have a 2-year position from 2023 to 2025.
Okay, good. So I second.
Okay, and is that's in accordance with their recommendation?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Any comments on that? Hearing no comments, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Okay. Next,
The harder.
I did receive some feedback on the infrastructure committee. See if I can find it here.
Was it the information that the committee isn't capped, maybe, in terms of numbers?
On the infrastructure, it was, the thought was that given that Andy's new to the committee, possibly staying with the existing members, Eric and Gary, with Jeff as an alternate, and invite Mr. Kirby to start attending to learn about because it's a pretty significant growth curve in the infrastructure committee to start learning about it, attending some meetings and showing some interest to be ready for the next round. That was the recommendation that I received. Thoughts on that?
So you have 3 incumbents right now, right?
2 incumbent regular positions and 1 incumbent
alternate.
alternate.
And that wants to become full-time.
And where we have had so much changeover with retirements, Dan
Yeah.
retiring and whatnot, I guess that was probably more the concern, is just to try to keep some level of historical knowledge in there. when
Sure.
Talking about stuff.
Is Gary still interested in being on there?
Yes. And this, Heather's out, I think. I don't know, she's
She's just listening in.
but she doesn't feel well.
Yeah.
But did get her feedback on this, so.
Okay.
That was a plan that she supports. If there's no other comments, then let's start with a motion to that effect.
Okay, I'll move that Eric Remsen and Gary Baker be appointed to the Infrastructure Committee for a term from 2023 to 2026, and that Jeff Bradis sits as an alternate.
And James Kirby.
And it really doesn't fit in the vote. I mean, the only thing we're doing is recommend that he attend the meetings,
Yeah.
Okay,
because that's
perfect.
not really a position.
Okay.
So that was
Second.
moved and seconded. Comments on that?
It's good that so many people are interested in these committees.
It's
amazing.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Now we need to get some to step up for select board positions. So.
Wow, okay.
Well, the infrastructure committee is gonna have big turnovers next year. I mean, I don't know if it'll be turnovers, but there's 4 people coming up.
It is good
next
though.
year.
I love seeing the community activism,
Yep, oh, yeah.
so. Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. That leaves us with the
Downtown improvement.
DIDC. And I didn't receive did we get a recommendation from the DIDC?
So the DIDC does not meet regularly, and this is somewhat different from the other boards in that there are certain categories that the appointees have to fit in. So we have the 3 owners or agents of assessed property in the district. Currently, those are Stacy Rainey, Gary Baker, and Amy Ryan. Stacy Rainey being the only one that's an owner of assessed property in the district that's applied for the DIDC. A business owner manager position, Bill Cunningham of Tri-Valley Transit, currently in that position, and he's there till 2025. A select board member, Dan Brown, has been serving, and then that leaves an at-large Middlebury resident position. In some of our earlier documents, it said that there were 3 positions opened. That was an error. In looking back, I referenced the DIDC ordinance, and it calls for 6 members. And we do, I note, have an alternate of Phyllis Stenson.
So based on that,
We've got,
looks like Stacy needs to be reappointed because she's a business owner and we need a business owner.
Right. And then we just have the at-large.
And we have the
Yes.
at-large. I know Laura had said that if there were other
right.
interested, she would be happy to
Step aside.
just attend and serve and commit time. So that leaves you Lorraine,
Who's a current member?
who's a current member, and Heidi and James. So between those 3, I know Lorraine's been working on the wayfinding project. I don't know where they're at on that.
Yeah, just a second, where is it?
Do you know?
What's that, question?
The wayfinding project?
It's a project they're working on for direction finding in the town.
Right.
Right, do you know
Looking
where
at
they're
signs
at?
and stuff. I don't know where it's at. I mean, we punted on it. Well, we had a short update the last meeting.
Right, right. And there's some discussion among the committee members how large it should be. Should it be a refresh of what we have, something entirely new? So it's an ongoing discussion that we've been having.
So James Kirby, his second choice, he had 3 choices. Was his second choice?
He says 3rd choice.
Huh?
He says 3rd.
Yeah, I know. We just eliminated him from his first choice.
My understanding is that Mr. Kirby withdrew from his application to the Energy Committee.
Okay. He withdrew that. Okay. We have 2 incumbents that want to stay, and I think they both should stay. One has to stay. I think Lorraine should have the opportunity to stay. And that was Heidi Franz. Heidi, yeah, right there. Hi, Heidi. Were you an alternate on there? No, you haven't been an alternate at all. Because I put down alternate next to your name, so that's what I was going to recommend, that we have her as an alternate. But,
of who is an alternate?
Put Heidi's interested, put her as an alternate on that committee. Can we do that?
Another alternate, you currently
don't-
have Phyllis Stinson.
Oh. So Phyllis is, there, Phyllis Stinson, okay, yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's one of those committees, though, if you had some energy behind it, you could be doing some,
Yeah.
the wayfinding thing, maybe a few more that were interested in working on it might be helpful.
Oh, I think it would be, I really think it would be. There's plenty that committee can be doing, we just don't meet frequently enough, and typically our primary goal is to take the budget and
Figure out
allocate
how
the
to spend
budget
it.
and spend it, because we have to spend it.
Yeah.
But there's other things that we should be working on that would be really helpful, and it's just been hard to meet.
Well, it's maybe easier to get a quorum with a few more people with another.
Can we appoint more people to that committee? Or,
Is it created by ordinance?
no?
It's created by ordinance, and the ordinance doesn't call for one alternate, but you did that.
Does the ordinance set a number? I know it has the definitions, but does it?
It created specificity to who had to sit on it, so that it had representation.
Right, but did it specify the total number of people on the committee?
It's 6.
Okay, you did say that, okay. 6.
Those are the
Plus an alternate, right?
Voting.
No, we made that up, I think.
I know we did.
Yeah, so I think we make it up again.
6 voting members,
Yeah, okay.
but to have somebody who's learning it
Yeah.
and getting to know, I mean, that might be, Heidi's been here 2 years, so opportunity to get to know what's going on downtown.
Let's go.
Okay, give me
Dan?
a motion, Dan.
So I move that for the DIDC, we appoint Stacy Rainey and Lorraine Tobias for terms of 2023 to 2026. And that we don't.
We can't do it.
Yeah, we need to appoint the alternates, Heidi, and who was the other alternate?
Phyllis Stinson.
Phyllis, okay. There's 2 alternate, have the 2 alternates.
So I have a second.
Second.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any comments on that? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye? Okay. Good. We have our boards for another year. Now we need to nominate to fill a vacancy on the Ilsley Library Board of Trustees. And-
I defer to Amy Mincher, who is now the president.
Okay.
Ooh.
Wow.
Oh. No, I've been away. Congratulations. Did you fire Joe, or?
Well, we just switched some things around, so.
Congratulations,
Yeah.
Amy. She's a good choice.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, so we had someone resign, and we want to appoint Natasha Sen. And she came to our last meeting. She was great. She's a lawyer. It's always nice. She has a young child who comes to the library all the time, so we're happy to have her.
I did not receive any.
That's great.
It's good to get a good one.
Yeah.
When you only get
I was
one.
very happy. Joe was able to find her, so that was really great.
Okay.
Motion?
Motion.
I'll move to nominate Natasha Sen to fill the recent vacant position on the Ilsley Library Board of Trustees.
I second it.
Moved and seconded. Now this, can we appoint right now, or is this a nomination that's gotta wait till the next
It
meeting?
has to wait till the next meeting.
Really?
Yes.
So
I think
to
she's a shoo-in, though.
officially-
I think so, but
Yeah.
I was hoping to have her as a regular board member for our next meeting.
Yeah.
When is your next meeting?
It's like in 2 weeks. Yeah.
So the select board's
What
meeting.
day?
Probably Monday.
Great.
Um,
No, she can attend.
She will attend, yes. Yeah.
And the appointment is until the next town meeting?
No, not, oh, yeah.
So
Yeah, she'll be,
Yes, yes,
she'll be, have it, and then we'll do I think it's just for 1 year after that, it's the rest of that term.
Yeah.
Steve. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Okay. Next, we got Emily with some public works projects.
Emily is on Zoom tonight because she said this is gonna be really short, quick and easy.
I love it.
Yay.
Oh, yeah.
She thinks.
She's got,
He's so true so far.
she doesn't have a track record of being short.
I am looking for approval to apply for the municipal roads grant and aid program funding, which is, I think Dan and Bill have historically used it for replacing culverts and doing ditching and projects that support our MRGP permit, municipal roads permit. It's typically in the 20,000 range, I would imagine, is what we'll qualify for. And then it's a 20% match from the town. Any questions on that one?
Questions?
No.
Pleasure of the board.
Let me see. I'll move to
I
authorize.
didn't hear you.
We got a motion.
We're getting a
It's
motion.
happening.
Yeah. I move to authorize the Director of Public Works Planning to submit the draft letter of intent on behalf of the town of Middlebury to the state of Vermont for future participation in state's FY '24 municipal roads grants in aid program.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions on this? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Next.
Next is looking for support for, to award a contract to Champlain Construction for project at the Seymour Street pump station. It has been put out to bid multiple times with very little interest. And then I think Bob eventually reached out to Champlain and a couple of other contractors, and we did receive one bid from Champlain this winter. So it's essentially rebuilding the cover of the pump station, making the hatch more accessible, and then relocating the control panel and the utility pole so that it's more accessible for our trucks to pull in to work on the pump station. And then there's some renovations actually down in the pump station itself, but not anything nearly as extensive as our other projects that we have going on.
Cool.
Questions? Pleasure of the board.
Okay, I move to award the proposed contract between the town of Middlebury and Champlain Construction Company for the upcoming Seymour Street wastewater pump station for $42,500.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Any other comments or questions? None? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I will, just to note on that one, we do have a wetland permit and a stream alteration permit, but both are in review with the DEC right now. So I think the wetland permit's on public comment, and stream will be there next week. I think it got submitted last week, so it'll put it in the time frame for May construction.
Okay.
And then the last piece, oh no, not quite the last piece.
Next.
The funding for Washington Street, this is just to change the authorized representative from Dan to myself. I don't know if I'll have to do this for other loans that he had out there. I think most of those are all closed out at this point, but
this one's still active. So it's just to change the authorization, so that I get the emails instead of going to his email box.
Makes sense.
Motion?
Okay, sure. I move to authorize Emily Charrington as the town of Middlebury's authorized representative for the state of Vermont's water infrastructure financing programs.
Second.
Moved and seconded. A very good rep, I would say. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Then last on my list is the crack seal bids. Bill put them back out, extended the bid for 3 weeks, I believe. Right? I think it was on the last agenda, I forget.
Yes.
But extended it until the 21st of April, and so he did receive, because he only received a bid from one company, and it wasn't a company that we've ever worked with before.
Yep.
So he did receive an alternate bid from Nikon Coatings, who the town has historically worked with quite a bit. And so the two bids are relatively close. Price per day, $7,150 for Nikon, and for seal coating, $9,142. And I think what Bill would like to recommend is approve both unit rates and then allow us the opportunity to use Nikon, but perhaps also try seal coating for a day. Keep it within our budgeted amount, but just to see what the production rates, how they compare.
Love it.
Interesting. Okay.
Okay, I move to approve the 2-year contract for pavement crack sealing for both NICOM coatings and seal coating at the hourly rates listed in the attached summary document.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Any questions?
Is it price per day, not hourly?
Yep.
It's okay. I'll
Friendly-
change.
friendly
yes.
amendment?
Friendly
Yeah.
amendment, yes. Yep.
I'm just curious how you, since they're not gonna be covering the same terrain, how you are gonna measure their production.
So our plan is to, Dan and I went through and scored the roads, and so roads with a score of a 7 need crack seal. So we're gonna review those roads that got listed as a 7 and then find some comparable areas, comparable terrain, comparable areas, so that it'll be the best we can do, I think, but it should give us some idea.
Yeah. And the stopwatch. Ready, set,
The other
go.
consideration moving forward is like the way the state does it is they measure by the, I don't know if it's by the gallon or by the pound. I think they do it by the pound, which then I think you get a better application rate because the more they're putting down,
Yeah.
where you're getting sealed. So I think we might play around with the spec in the future for how we word it, but
Yeah.
As long as they don't just pour it down the storm sewer, it's all good.
right.
Yeah.
Oh, if only you could think of things like that.
Okay. No other questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, we get you out of here already, Emily.
Emily, who's that picture?
Thank you.
Who's the picture behind you in the on your bookshelf?
I stole my son's room. I have no idea.
Very good.
Thank you all.
Joe.
So normally, when I come before you, it's with Dana Hart, and Dana's maternity leave began officially at 1:30 a.m. yesterday. She gave birth to Juno Cody Ridgway Yost. I don't think this all has to go in minutes. All right. 20 inches long, 7.2 pounds, about a week overdue, so Dana's very happy about that.
Yay.
And
Small in
everybody's
weight,
healthy
but
and
decent
doing well. So this means that Royce McGrath is now our acting library director.
Okay.
In terms of things. So we had a few changes. So Royce is our acting director. Amy's now president of the library board. I'm the treasurer. And meanwhile, we've had a lot of support from the town for this project. And we started off with Judith Harris as our town liaison. Judith flies south for the winter, so Beth Dow has stepped into that role. And as we begin to get more and more engaged in technical matters or design matters dealing with the project, I think our hope is to maintain Beth as our town liaison and take advantage of Judith's expertise in architecture kind of as a technical advisor. So when I was last here in front of you, end of February, we were requesting your approval for a request for qualifications. We sent that out the beginning of March. We had 6 respondents. We narrowed that to 4. So the 4 who are currently in contention are Gossens Bachman from Middlebury, Smith Alvarez.
No.
I'm sorry, from Montpelier, Vermont Integrated Architecture from Middlebury, Weeman Lamphere in collaboration with REARC from Colchester, and Smith Alvarez Sankiewicz from Burlington. So as we outlined before, our plan going forward is to have a design competition. We figured that if this works for crack sealing, you know, you bring them in together, see who does, well, this could work for architecture and design. Though included in your board packet, I hope you didn't read the whole thing, but there was a lengthy brochure from the American Institute of Architecture on how to go about holding a design competition. Judy Harris read through that, got together with Dana and with Barbara Doyle-Wilch, who is kind of the library expert on our project team, and Amy's on that team as well, and have put together some guidelines for a design competition, a draft of which was included in your board packet. So the short version is that we would give these 4 firms about 2 months to come up with a conceptual design. We give them very, very clear guidelines as to what we did and didn't want. You know, we don't need the drone fly through of the whole thing, but just a clear sense of what we're looking for. We realized that although the project team members have been steeping ourselves, and Dan and Farhad can speak to this, into issues relating to libraries, library design, the needs of this particular building, we are not ourselves experts in architecture or design, and what we're asking these firms to do is to present us with you know, floor plans and elevations and so on. So we thought, let's see if we can't bring in some people who are more expert than we in this regard. So we've asked a few local experts to become part of a professional advisory group, and those individuals are Glenn Andres, retired professor emeritus of architecture at the college, Tom Keefe, who knows a lot about historical architecture and restoration, David Hamilton, who's the chair of the DRB and also an architect. And I would add that we thought a lot about who should be on this, and that part of the challenge is that we're in a small state. Everybody knows everybody. It's very difficult to find an architect who has not done business with one of these people, or, you know, so we feel that this will be an independent body. So the plan is that we'll give each of these firms some access to the library to look through it and measure things and so on. They will submit initially to us anonymously. So this is going to go through Royce McGrath. So we're actually going to be, there's going to be like 3 phases. So in the first phase, materials come to us. Royce will make sure that we can't tell who it came from.
Just gonna like label it A, B, C, D.
A, B, C,
and
D.
everything's just printed. Like,
Wow.
there's no 3D models, there's no video, it's just printed materials.
So that will come to the project team, to our professional advisory group, or PAG, as some people call it. We'll try to get some feedback at that point as well from the library trustees and from the library staff. We'll go through a little scoring process at that point. We'll then ask each of those 4 firms to come to a meeting of both the project team as well as the professional advisory group and present to us their work. One of the things that we found in our discussions about moving ahead with a project like this is that you can have the most brilliant design in the world, but you really got to be able to work with those people and have a sense of how that communication goes. So we'd like to see what that would be like in that kind of a setting.
So that in the future we can see how they deal with how they work with the public.
So those would be individual meetings, one firm in a room at a time, probably spread over a couple of days. Do one in the morning, one in the afternoon, so on. Rethink. Now what do we think? But then we've promised the public to have some input into it. We'd love for the select board to have some input into it. So the final part of this plan would be a probably evening presentation in what's been described as a neutral location. A town hall theater has been suggested. I'm not sure that's the best spot, but we're looking at Wednesday, August 9th as a time when we would have all four of these firms come together. They'd set up their models in different corners of the room. They'd each have a chance to get up in front, explain what they're doing. And we'd ask people to write their thoughts on comment cards. So we're not really asking the public to vote, but we're saying, what do you think? What are the strengths? What are the weaknesses? And so on. Those models and demonstrations might then be put on display in the lobby of the town offices for people to come through and review. And we would then hope that the project team, taking into consideration all of this feedback from people, would rank our choices and come to you with a recommendation. The document that you have there, which I think says Architectural Design Competition Guidelines, we've modified that a little bit since this came to you last week. This has a lot of kind of extraneous detail. We didn't think that the competitors quite needed, so we've split this off into just an overview, which is what you have, and then some more explicit designs for the competitors. We have some more specific dates. So the key dates really are, we hope to get this out to them late this week or early next week. We hope them to submit their materials by July 7th. And then that August 9th date would be kind of towards the end of the presentation there. Now, at the conclusion of this proposal, you can see some red ink, which is Judith Harris's way of saying, hey, this is not resolved yet. And that has to do with some legal issues to make sure that we're covering all of our bases with issues such as intellectual property. If we're paying these guys $5,000 to come up with a conceptual design, who does that belong to? We want to make sure we're very clear on that point and a number of other points. And so this afternoon, Judy Harris and Kathleen met via Zoom with David Fletcher?
Bob Fletcher.
Bob Fletcher, to review some of those legal questions. You want to give us an update?
We were referred to Bob Fletcher by the Vermont League of Cities and Towns and our town attorney, Benj Putnam. Bob has extensive background in construction contracts, so he has received the design competition guidelines and a proposed letter of agreement, and he is going to work on those and have those in good shape in time to launch this on schedule.
So what I understood from Judy that he proposes kind of a two-phased approach here where we can maybe get started with a general letter and then make sure we've got all the details so we can get things going, but dot our legal P's and I's and T's.
It's a good catch, though. That can be a really big issue. Questions?
Brian, if I could make a note.
Absolutely.
Hi, you guys. Thank you guys so much for coming. I really appreciate it. And I also wanted to make a note that I really appreciated in a social media post that you guys made earlier in the week about the economic benefit of the library. I think that that's something that is really important for our community to understand when we're thinking about the conversation that the select board had regarding, how much each of us individually as members of the select board would be willing to, at this point, put up for a bond. And I think when we talk about economic benefit and the library and all the things that taxpayers get from that, I think that that was a really important post to be putting out. And I also a note for fellow select board members, we have to continue that conversation because it is a difficult conversation to figure out how we're going to fund the library. And my perspective is, I think it's an important thing to get done in a timely manner. So I really hope that we can continue that conversation. But again, thanks Joe, thanks Amy for coming out.
Thanks, Izzy.
Any other questions? Questions? No? Pleasure of the board.
Let me see. Where are we? I move to approve the proposed design competition guidelines developed by the 100 project team for the upcoming Ilsley Public Library renovation expansion project design process.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Again, any comments? And then you'll just, that legal part, write that in. Your idea is that they could get going, you can let them know that they've been selected, they can be doing that, but then they wouldn't give you the materials until such time as you have a legal agreement.
Yep.
To make sure it's covering both us and them.
Yep.
Okay.
And, one of the, sorry, did you have your vote? I can't remember. But, one of the things.
No, we
is,
haven't voted yet.
Dana has been the key person who people have been communicating with. She has something else to work on at the moment. So Judy Harris as the kind of technical, do we say technical advisor, technical?
I can't remember the specific language we use,
She would
but
probably
she'll be the one answering questions.
She and Royce McGrath as acting director would be the key people with whom those firms would be communicating during this process.
Okay. Okay, I'm good on it. Anybody any other questions? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, it's unanimous.
Voila,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Yeah.
See you Thursday.
Congratulations.
Thank
See,
you.
now, all we have to do is figure out how to pay for it, and
That's
we're
it.
all set.
I know, I wish it was so easy.
Yeah.
Need one big check.
I keep buying my Megabucks tickets.
Please, I'll do it.
Is Nick down? Oh, yeah, there's Nick right there. Nicholas?
Sure. Good evening.
Good evening.
Everyone hear me all right?
We can.
Very well.
Yes.
All right, perfect. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Nicholas Gill. I work in the finance office. I'm the main accountant back there lurking behind the corner. I've been asked to present on the capital fund transfer request. You should have had a list of active capital project balances presented to you. Hopefully that is the updated one as of this evening. I'm very active with it. A few things I want to point out. There is the flood resiliency project is showing a 1.7 negative balance. Just want to make it clear that that is funded in FY23. It has since been fully paid up, so that is that alone brings the total fund balance in the capital fund to $1.5 million to the positive. Then there is the MPD reuse building, which also had a bond reimbursement for $850,000, which again brings that positive balance up by quite a bit. So the overarching need for this request is, at some point along the way, the Cross Street Bridge really started getting booked to the general fund balance and has been carried on the general fund balance sheet. There's nothing inherently problematic about that, but in reconciling these projects, I think it should be kept with the rest of the capital fund projects and carried on the capital fund balance sheet. So this transfer corrects that. It brings those monies and just labels it as explicitly for capital fund projects. Second item, with that MPD reuse, there was a small settlement that was specifically for the MPD reuse, and that also, we believe, was booked to the general fund balance and has been carried on that balance sheet. So this reconciliation transfer would clean that up and bring it back to the capital fund where it would sit going forward. So nothing about this is self-explanatory. If you have any questions, please speak up. I'm happy to answer.
Fred?
Fred Dunnington, just a curious question. If we transfer 3.6 million from the general fund into these capital fund, what does the town have left in its general fund?
It's a little over $1 million.
Thank you.
It's important to know that those two funds, many towns don't even have separate capital funds. So they really are, very similar. They represent the same tax base. There's nothing inherently necessary about breaking that out. We've chosen to do that. But there's nothing by necessity having it separate. So they represent the same taxpayer dollars. They have always been reserved, even as they sit in the general fund, they've been reserved for these projects. It's really an accounting tool to make sure that proper restrictions are in place on those funds. They show as fully committed for, the capital projects.
Any other questions?
This is accounting magic.
Is this the right amount to, for the moment? Okay. Need a motion?
Please.
I'll move to authorize the transfer of $3,655,938.44 from the general fund into the capital fund to reconcile the attached project balances as of 6/30/22.
Do I have a second?
No seconds?
Second.
Getting dazed, right?
Yeah.
Any other questions on this? This is your opportunity to ask Nicholas if you're got a question.
Nicholas, is there some reason why we don't just collapse this into the general fund? What's the historic or value in keeping this separate?
Yeah, so it's just one extra layer of reconciliation if capital projects were over time not to balance with the fund balance. You'd know, something was in need of a revision. So it's just one extra layer of making sure that it's broken out and it's, accounted for and tracked for. But it is not necessary. We could do it in other ways. And it would prevent the need of this type of transfer, but it wouldn't prevent all of the day-to-day tracking and work involved. So I'm not sure if there's a ton of benefit to getting rid of it either.
Right, yeah, the question is there some benefit to keeping it, I think, if there is transfers that need to be done to keep this reconciled?
Yeah, so you're always gonna have reconciliation on the project level. We can absolutely talk about getting rid of the capital fund. Similarly, we could get rid of the equipment funds. You also have that power. But on a fund-wide basis, it does, raise a flag if something were to not balance. You would know that you had something miscoded. You'd have to, look into it.
Okay. So other than just not liking the accounting software, this is a fine way of segregating these types of monies?
Correct, yeah.
Very good.
Good question, though. Any other questions?
I do very much know what he's talking about. Come on.
I was impressed.
Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
For later. Thanks, Nick.
You.
Okay. Well, I think that was, do we still have Nicholas on something else here?
No.
Okay, thanks, Nick. Dave?
Alrighty.
Hey, hey.
Number 10.
For those who I have not met, watching, or in the room, my name's Dave Sofrin, and I'm the Assistant Town Manager. And I'm presenting tonight a proposed agreement with our existing vendor, Revise, for the updating of our town's website. Revise, just by way of background, was involved in the redesign of the website back in 2016 and 17, and they've been our vendor for hosting and basic support since then. I think there's been a desire for a bit of time since before I got here for the website to be overhauled, at least in its aesthetics and in its design. We started conversations about a month, or I guess 2 months ago, with Revise staff, trying to understand what that would look like, the costs, and also practically what's available. They have two basic options. One are a variety of templates that they've created over time. One is a customized website, which can include choosing a custom design that they've already done for one of their other clients that are, you can see on their town's website. I can break down the prices between the two, but we were able to negotiate the price to be spread out over 5 years. So the difference between a template and a custom is actually just about $600 or $700 a year. So it's not a dramatic cost difference. We went through each of the templates. They are of varying age, so some of them may have been a template put together last year, some a template put together 5 years ago. And we went through a number of their existing clients. I think South Burlington is one of them, St. Albans is another. There's quite a few that Revise has in New England. And we tried to find one that would be both, obviously give us a more modern feel to the design. The functionality would be logical and simple for anybody using the website. It would allow us to advance in a couple of ways, especially something that I've heard talked about here quite a bit, which is the mobile-friendly aspect. We currently have a website that still doesn't shift into a mobile version when you pull it up on your phone. So we went through that process. We came up with a recommendation that we presented to Kathleen, which would be for the proposal you see in front of you. It is for the custom design that's going to be mirrored to a certain degree off of the website they've designed for St. Albans. It won't, the town of St. Albans won't 100% match that, but it'll be a template, if you will, that we will use. We expect the process to take about 2 months. If it's approved tonight, we'll start those conversations with them to figure out a timetable of conversations and meetings. And one of the things just I wanted to point out in this is we're hoping, we don't just want to do, we don't just want the aesthetics to improve. We think this, this sort of moment in time is a great chance to re-examine the way we substantively provide information on the website. There's a variety of things that just in my own going through of our website, I think there's things we can improve, some logical, even the basic things like drop-down menus being in alphabetical order, since the human being typically wants to look for things in alphabetical order and not in more randomized. Grouping things together like boards and commissions that, well, although there are technical differences between them, practically speaking, they are the same type of governmental entity, so grouping them together would make a bit more sense. So, overall, this is designed to make it a more attractive website, to make it more user-friendly, and hopefully to be a better tool for the public, because I think that's the gist of it. We want to try to share information as easily and effectively as we can for whoever's visiting. So that's the short spiel of it. There's a memo summarizing the more detail in the packet, and then there's also the proposal from Revise.
And the budget
So
fits our
So
budget?
we've been budget. So I spoke to Kathleen about that just to double check earlier today. We budgeted that into the upcoming general fund budget. So the funds for the first year, and then we would be subsequently budgeting them over the course of each subsequent year. The annual cost of just over $4,200 includes the spreading out of the development cost over 5 years, as well as the annualized tech support. And that tech support amount is the same regardless of whether you go for the custom or the.
So the development cost is that 10,400?
It is 7,700, and then spreading that across
5 years.
5 years, excuse me. Yep. Yep.
It's pretty reasonable,
That's
really.
a bargain.
That's what I thought, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at
4,000.
it's almost the same as the contract from 2016, which I have a copy of. this company, along with a few others, they have a large scale number of clients, so I assume they're able to scale up and keep costs low in that way. One of the things we tried to keep in mind as we looked at other towns is also, we don't want to bite off more than we can chew with a website that may meet the needs of a town that has 3 times the staff, multiple communication staff and that sort of thing. So we were cognizant of not just getting blown away by some great website that's being supported by 3 full-time communication staffers in the city of fill in the blank. So it was a very interesting process, and I think we have a product that, in this 2-month process that we go through will give us something that is much more, especially compared to what we currently have, useful for the public to learn about the town.
Great.
Any
Questions of Dave? Comments?
I asked all my questions of Dave yesterday in his office. I think this is a good proposal.
One other thought, if I can, just, we are going to link this website moving forward with Google Analytics so we can get a little better idea of, in the 6 months from now, a year from now, 5 years from now, whatever, which parts of the website people use the most. It'd be great to know if, is the traffic all going to Public Works, or is it going to the fire
We
department?
don't use Google Analytics now?
So it wasn't currently linked, so we're gonna link it moving forward. So so that being
Correct.
said, I would ask if any of the select board members have anecdotal input that you've received over the years from the public, a couple comments that kind of have been repeated to you, gosh, this really doesn't make any sense, or gosh, I really like this, or I'd like to see more. That's the kind of information that, even though it's anecdotal, would still be helpful to know on the front end of this project, if you can, as opposed to maybe 3 months from now, which may not be as helpful. But so that's something. Just if you can think about that, if you've gotten those comments over the years, I think that'd be helpful to know about. And obviously, we'll have data moving forward to educate us on really what's driving the public's interest in the website.
And we do have a little bit of data from our, last few town meeting surveys as to what people find of value on it, and so that might help a little bit.
I think it's, as we try to have that conversation with Revise about the substance, I think it'll be where we spend our energy, I think, should be driven by the parts of the website where there's the most demand to learn. There's an audience for zoning and planning, and there's an audience for the library and everything, and so that information will be very helpful.
Yeah, I agree. Cool. Any other questions?
Sounds like we might be going into the
Pleasure of the
21st
board.
century website.
I'll make a motion to approve the proposed contract with Revise for $4,240 annually over the next 5 years for the upgrading of the town of Middlebury's website.
I second.
Moved and seconded. Comments? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Voila.
All right? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Is Chief Hanley with us? Yes. Thanks, Dave. Look forward to seeing that. I just took a look at the town of St. Albans' website.
Yeah.
That is a nice little website.
Very clean, it's very
Yeah.
And Dave, you can mention that Emily came to us from the town of St. Albans, and she had a significant hand in the design of that website.
Ooh.
Wow. Multi-talented.
Love it.
Our star talent search lady right there.
No pressure.
With a lot of people make her look good.
Is Chief with us? Oh, still trying to get in? Or? Chief, you there?
Oh, he's coming. It's all happening.
I think I just popped out.
Hey, Chief.
Hi, Chief.
So we're ready for you.
Okay, this is the annual adoption of the town's emergency management plan. No major changes this year, just a lot of updates to the people that are involved in this. No practical changes. I always remind you that keep in mind that this is a legal document. When this is adopted, the provisions of this plan become a legal document. The most important ones are the page 9 and 10 of the plan, the authority to act, who has authority to declare an emergency, et cetera, et cetera. And also, what happens if the town manager is gone, who has that authority vested by the plan? So there's a list of interim emergency successors. Signing this, you create that list of emergency interim successors to act on the town manager's behalf. So those are really the important parts of the plan. The rest deals with a lot of planning and resources and things like that.
Okay. Questions of Chief? Pleasure of the board.
I move to approve the 2023 Town of Middlebury Emergency Management Plan.
Second?
Moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. There we go.
Man.
Ayes have it. Thanks, Chief. That was easy tonight.
It is. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chief.
So, do we, we're just soliciting you have a proposed agenda for so the town college meeting got pushed.
It's in June now?
And right now it's June 5th.
Who's
And
attending?
So I was trying to remember. Did we
It's
already?
going to be Isabel.
Great.
We're going in rotation of the time people came on the
Yeah.
board.
So if anybody has additions or things that they think about, we have some time here to finish flushing this out. Something might come up between now and then.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Fred Dunnington. I noticed in your packet the traffic and police agreement from the 1990s era. Brings back some memories for me. This was a time where the college proposed to expand by 10%. And the issues at the time you see were addressed in this, things like trying to channel the cattle crossings on College Street into
Sorry,
sensible-
Fred.
Hang on a second.
I see Tom Hanley still on as an attendee. I want to promote him to panelist if he's available, because this was in the packet
Sure.
at his.
I just note that the issues are perhaps different today. I know, and you're thinking about what to address in updating this, think about that the context of this was the impact of the college on the town. And the college students are citizens residents of the town. They use municipal services. They drive, they use fire and police and ambulance, sometimes more than average citizens do. But not taking anything away from the police parts of this, which are very important, but some of the other aspects, the college's enrollment has increased beyond that which was contemplated in this era. And if you think of the proportion of the college residents as a proportion of the town, and then look at the proportion that the college contributes to the town general funds, which is fantastic. But, you know, last time we counted it up in the town plan, it was about 10% of the town general revenues, all in. And you might ask yourself, is the college just 10% of the town? And you might ask yourself, what are the needs going forward? And I know housing, affordable housing in the community is important. And beyond our real abilities is the market forces that attract people to establish housing, attract students to live in that housing, and that displaces other housing. Now, the college could create a place to build more of its housing on campus, make apartment building sites for the people who otherwise invest in those same sites in village neighborhood areas, and attract investors to those rather than affecting residential neighborhoods. Just an idea. But you might think about what things are currently in your realm that go beyond just traffic and police, that would be valuable, given the increasing college size and the increasing need for their students to be housed somewhere. Just a thought.
Are you suggesting that more topics come into agreements of the kind that we have here from 1998, that we formalize more of these things?
Well, in both Act 250 and in the town zoning, the impact of one development, the college is a big planned unit development in the town zone, on the town is an issue. And like in Act 250, it's not just, traffic. It's, is there an undue burden on the town? And there are other criteria in Act 250. Housing impact isn't as great a one, but it is or was something in the town zoning that was quite important.
Sure.
In that era, as part of getting the college to submit a master plan, we asked them to tell us where their students were housed, tell us what properties they owned. And there was kind of a discussion of, okay, how could we address the impact of students on neighborhoods? And back then, they were absorbing the College Street, Franklin Street neighborhood into the college. And there was some approvals made to allow things to change in the College Street, South Street neighborhood. For example, some of the student housing on South Street was eliminated as part of an agreement to have the Morningside House become part of the college's administration proposal. That was a senior living facility before it was that. So housing and the impact on neighborhoods was an issue back then, and I think it's still an issue in town.
Clearly.
Just listening in.
Thanks, Fred. We have our challenges ahead of us, no doubt. So with that, we'll go to Farhad on check warrants.
Dan.
It's me.
Yeah.
It's you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Going to you on check warrants,
Okay.
Dan.
Okay, I move to approve the total expenditures in the amount of $818,176.85, consisting of $714,654.69 for accounts payable and $103,522.16 for payroll for the period of April 12, 2023 through April 25th, 2023.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Those opposed? Okay. So, we have need for an executive session on real estate and personnel.
Okay.
Wanna-
Oh,
just
yeah,
somebody-
I'll read us in.
What's that?
Board member concerns.
Oh, yes, board member concerns. Getting ahead of myself. Dan?
I'm good, thanks.
Farhad?
I'm good.
Lindsay? Isabel?
Wow.
Andy?
I'm also good. What, did nothing happen in the last 2 weeks?
Happened in 2 weeks, so.
My goodness.
I think
Brian?
everybody's looking at the clock. Me, I have lots of concerns, but I'm trying to work them off, so we'll go into executive session.
In accordance with Vermont's open meeting law requirements, I move that the board find that premature general knowledge of the consideration of real estate and personnel would clearly place the select board at a substantial disadvantage because the select board is disclosing its litigation or negotiation strategy if it discusses the real estate matters in public. I further move that the board.
No, you gotta finish that first.
So,
I'll second that.
moved and seconded.
Oh, yeah, there is.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I further move that the board enter into executive session to discuss real estate and personnel matters under the provisions of Title I, Section 313, Sub A, Sub 1 of the Vermont statutes.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are going into executive session at 8:45.
Okay, and we